Welcome back to Kickback. My name is Ben, and we are proud to be presented by the CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk. We are here in Paris, Ontario at Lost Bandit Bike Co. And I'm now joined by Greg from the Casual Athlete, longtime friend, proud supporter, I think from the very beginning of Kickback, since inception. It's just been incredible to have your support, and I'm so glad that you made the drive from London to little old Paris here.
It's always my pride, man. It's become a mission, and I know it has for you too. We've talked about it on the off time. We're kind of kicking back all the time, it seems like. So it's one of those things where I'm really a believer in boots on the ground in action, and it feels like that when I'm here. I feel like I finally get that soapbox that I love, you know?
It's your stage.
So it's just, it's always good to drive down, and what it does is it kind of gets me out of my environment too, makes me kind of think outside the box a little bit. I'm not on my turf, you know what I mean? So I got to think a little bit differently. I like that.
And I think it's always neat too, because your perspective comes from a slightly different angle than most in what you do with the Casual Athlete, and like you're literally rebuilding people and their confidence, and you're bringing fitness to the rest of us, right? And it's been special to see that, and literally you're taking people that have been told that they probably won't move ever again, and providing them with the opportunity to be able to move. And that's incredible. And so just for you to be able to come on and share your experience, we're almost at a place now where we're coming in and we're sharing like the recap from the year. I just wanted to talk to you about what you've experienced over the last year.
Oh man, this year has been the best year for TCA, and in so many ways the hardest and the worst. And it hurts to say that because I love this company. I've been at it for 10 years, but this path has trials, and I do come at it from a different angle. I'm coming at it from a fitness angle, you know what I mean? And so the whole promise is fitness for the rest of us, and that promise was put to the test this year. I especially dedicate myself to men's mental health. I'm an advocate for all mental health. But for my brothers, especially the ones who have been hurt, the ones that are in the hospital, or the ones that have made it out but are trying to survive at home, it was a particularly difficult year. And we lost two incredible men. And through that journey of grief, a lot was learned. And I know last year you were speaking a lot about grief, and you were on your own path at that time. And I remember talking to you before and after our Kickback session, and it was just so clear how much it had impacted you. And when it happened to me, different circumstances, but important men to me, I really thought of you, Ben, and I really thought of Kickback. But I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like it's a pitch here. This is to underline the importance of this, because the number one lesson I learned was you never know when it's going to be you. You never know when it's going to be your father. You never know when it's going to be your brother or best friend, or just someone out in the community that you really, really care about. And so in order to, I guess, test myself, I kept bringing myself to it. And that was one of the hardest parts of the job. That meant doing workouts with people in the ICU. That meant doing workouts with people who were even semi-conscious, and trying to just be there for them and tell them that I'm here, and I'm here for the reason you hired me for, and I'm ready to go as soon as you just give her a shake and give it a try. And if you can't, I'm here. And I believe through that experience, I learned the value of just being there and committing yourself to whatever environment that person is trying to heal in.
And I just think it's so cool that you are showing up, and you are being present with these individuals that have called upon you, and that you've been brought in front of to be able to do that. How do you prepare yourself for those situations, and just what does that look like for you?
Excellent question, man. That just hit me like a freight train. How do I deal with that? I really lean into my friendships, and I really talk to the people who are seeing me, you know, and that means family too, of course, right? I think the rest of it comes down to self-care. But I got a new perspective on self-care. I maybe had a toxic idea about it a couple years ago, where I was like, well, what's a bath gonna do for me? You know, what's ping pong gonna do? You know, but it actually turned out to be the thing that became most essential, not as a reactive, but as a preventative. And so when I went down to my gym for my workout, it's not just about the muscles, it's definitely not about the calorie burn, man. I'm the casual athlete, dude. It's definitely about what's going on here and what's going on here, and everybody who needs that strength and everybody who needs that flexibility, and I'm speaking both literally and metaphorically here. But if I'm not doing that self-care routine, man, it goes off the rails, and it did. And it did. And I think every mental health professional would have that moment where they have just given so much that when it comes to the self-care game, you had to make a choice. Either it's me or it's them. And this is the unspoken story of so many mental health professionals, is that they always choose them. But maybe it's not a mistake, but a form of leadership, where they're just hoping that other people out in society are going to see that role modeling and take it on themselves. So there will be less for these heroes out in community to do. But they're never going to stop. They don't know how, you know, like they're definitely getting their own therapy and stuff like that because of this, right? But that's the value of the community we've built, is that there is that for our support workers and for people out there slugging it out.
And for those moments of darkness, where you found yourself there, how did you pick yourself back up?
Sometimes I couldn't. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes I had to take the day off and just like take the L. And that part I think is really hard for a lot of people, is to understand when you've given too much and you need to recoup and recharge. So thankful to Up Yoga for giving me that opportunity this year, and that was an eye-opener, man. I needed that. I didn't know how in the zone I was until I came to see you guys, and I was surrounded by other caring men, and they're reaching out to me. Hey Greg, put down the phone, man. Hey Greg, stretch out. You gave me some shorts, dude. That's the kind of stuff that lifts me up, is when somebody gives that authentic reach out and really decides to help. And so I think that's what everybody would need in my position, but that's something that really helped me, is the fact that I had a community around me that wasn't waiting for me to ask. They just came in and gave. If we all did that, like our heroes in our community, we would have way less problems. I hope.
Yeah, right. I think community is so important. I think, and I'm seeing it in my personal space so much more, is that the importance and the need for community building and providing those opportunities for people to come together. And I think specifically for men, we're seeing a big shift in the need. It's always been there, but I think that it's more prevalent than ever before.
Most certainly.
And I think it's just, can you speak to just the importance of those spaces, and maybe for the men that are watching us chat right now, about if they don't have that, what could they do to find it?
Man, that's a tough one, especially for men in rural communities. You know, Paris is a smaller community. Strathroy, where I'm from, very small community, right? And the communities that support it, that are outlying, are even smaller and even more remote, very difficult. And so this is why outreach is so important, and for men to build that into part of their characteristics, or part of the things that they do just kind of as normal behavior, is calling up your buddy. We used to do this all the time, but I mean, technology has changed the way that we talk to one another, and some of us have gotten a little lost in that. And so sometimes it just takes that direct outreach, the unexpected call, you know? And then the real question that follows up, it is like the how are you doing? Like, it's been a while. Hey man, you've been staring at the wall for 3 hours. You okay? you know, real talk with one another. But I find that there's an attitude with men where we don't want to be a burden, and we don't want to present that because other people are dealing with their burden too. It really comes from a place of actual very deep empathy with the idea that everyone else is also suffering, and my suffering would only contribute to that. And so what I would say the first thing that men should do is that they're worthy, understand that they're worthy of love despite their suffering. And that their strength is not compared to the amount of suffering they have. In fact, often what suffering will do, and this is neurologically true, will grow your brain, and you will find moments of growth, but without support, without somebody there to lift you up when you're just about to fall, that's exactly what will happen. And we lose men like that. And it's my understanding, I'm not even going to get into the stats, because I know that there's so many people who would have mentioned it, but the suicide rate is off the charts. I lost one of my best men to that, you know? And then beyond that, hearing my guys who are trying to fight for their life saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know who to talk to.
Right.
You know, it's not worth it.
Right.
This is why we have to get in there first, before that voice of darkness emerges, and we have to get through the conversation through that lens. And if every man knew that they could turn to their best friend anytime and say it all, any guy who's got a best friend like that will tell you it.
Greg, you've experienced loss this past year, and you wanted to share your personal journey with the loss of specifically two men. Can you share? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple names out loud, man. Steve Lithgow, Del Dodge. Okay, really exceptionally hardworking men. Men who created and built farms, businesses, families, communities around them. And I had the opportunity to work out with both these men only days before they died, or in one case hours. And it really enlightened me to the male experience with grief, my personal grief, and the grief of the family around them. Steve was a survivor of an attempted murder. And his whole life after that, he was seeking justice. And the killer was able to hide their tracks enough that the court wouldn't even allow for a court case. And Steve had to figure out his mental health through a really impossible situation for a person to feel optimistic and uplifted. And after that, it was struggle and sickness and pain. And during that time, Steve lost friends and Steve lost community. The people who really mattered really stepped up. Like, these are, like I said, community heroes, man. Community heroes, just ready to go the entire distance. People put together a whole like super ice plunge out in the lake for them. I did an ice plunge with you, man. That's a sacrifice, dude. And they raised thousands and thousands of dollars for people who are suffering from brain damage and bringing attention to that. And very recently, Steve finally succumbed to just everything, man. And the last thing we ever did, Steve's PB, he blew the lid off of it, because in his last days, in his dying days, he did his strongest pullback with one arm. He was pushing down on my hand, trying to work on his shoulders, trying to open up his lungs so he could breathe, fighting for his life. Dukes up, going to the grave, drifting in, man. This guy went hard. And it was so incredibly inspiring. The relationship I built with his wife and his family has been reflected in the community, and these times of deep darkness all of a sudden brought light and family together, and friends being outspoken about how they felt about that and what they wanted, and being more active in their community. Del, he had a farm, man, 155 years old, one of the first farms in Ontario, the first Dodge in that area, a maker of the land, man, and a harvester of it too. And Del had got hit by strokes and amputations and spinal cord lesions and you name it, and he just kept getting up. And it was so easy for people to look at Del Dodge and pity him. But even to his last day, his desire was to keep getting up, and he did. He stood. He stood. And he was graced with a very painless and very fast passing. And when I look back at some of his last thoughts, though, his last thoughts were, no one's going to come to my funeral. No one actually loves me, and I've made too many mistakes in my life, so when I go, no one will come. And when I went to his funeral, the line was out the door and into the parking lot and off the property. And people were still trickling in, even as I had gone through the entire receiving line and embraced his family and found a way to get closer because of his life, because of his work. And I learned how to work harder because of the way that he said that he wanted to get back in that tractor. If we want to be there for our brothers, we got to be there all the way. There's the only way. And so I learned a lesson in dedication through grief. I learned a lesson in loyalty and humor and strength and patience. And if people can find these things in their grief, they will find a way out. It's not easy bearing this weight, and it's not easy seeing people when they're at their lowest and still trying to hope. But hope is the way out of all of this, and we can't nix it. We can't be afraid to get someone's hopes up. We got to go for it, and we got to give it everything we got. Failure's going to happen. Death is going to happen. But if we stop doing things because we think that we can avoid death or we can avoid failure, if we don't do these things, then we have given ourselves to the destiny that death presents. Otherwise, we can go into the darkness with a big lamp in front of us and just say, I'm going to take one more step and see what happens next. I'll tell you, that's what Steve did, and I'll tell you, that's what Dell did. And when they died, man, at the funeral, all these people talking about their strength, their life, how hard they worked, how much improvement they had, not about the last thing, about everything else. In past years, I've talked to you about finish line thinking and the danger of it, and how if you get too focused on the goal, you might get lost after that. And if we get too focused on our finish line, the end of our life, we could lose track of what is still in it, even right down to the last hours and the last minutes, man.
Right. And I just think that it's so powerful for you to come on and to share your personal journey with grief. With these two great men, and it's hard to lose the people that we love and the people that we look up to and care for, and have intimate relationships with, and have been there for those things. And I mean, what would you say to somebody that's maybe watching and maybe is currently struggling right now with the loss of a loved one, or maybe it's somebody as well, two parts with this question. Somebody that is kind of staring death in the face, right? And like what that looks like.
For the person who is coping from the outside and looking in, you've got to find your own support network that goes beyond just you and that person, because if you don't have another outlet, you're going to really internalize that grief, and that grief is going to take you to a very dark place. For the person who's dying, don't stop. Don't give up. Get those dukes up and do the thing, because there has been people who have overcome, and you don't want to go into it thinking you didn't do everything you could. So for that person, keep going. Never quit.
And I think that there's a lot of people, you had said Dell was concerned about who was going to show up at his funeral, and I think that speaks a lot to his character, and that feeling that even in his last days he didn't feel like he had done enough, so why would anybody show up, right? And I think that it tells a lot about that person, and I think everybody forgets or doesn't realize how much effect the ripple effect that they have in their everyday life, whether you're out there on the front lines or whether you're just going through and you have whatever that is. It's like you have your attitude, your smile, the way that you carry yourself has ripple effects out into the world, and how you treat people. It's all there, and people remember. And you can't count yourself short, especially in those last moments.
Definitely not. This all adds up to a whole life, right? Everything. And so if we're not trying to fill those moments with those people, with our best, with everything that we got, we might end up with regret. We might end up with those questions at the end of our own lives. And if we want to live a life without that, then you got to stack it up. You got to keep going, right? It's hard. Like, and for anyone who's experienced extreme grief, they're going to hear what I'm saying and say, "Ha!" But there will be a day when there's an outlet, and it's got to be taken. And once that outlet is taken, 2 more open up, and 3 and 4, and it's exponential. And so it's just about that first reach.
Right, and I think it's important to say the things that you want to say in those moments.
Yes.
Whether you're the person that's leaving this earth or the person that's watching somebody about to, don't like say the things. Like I remember with my uncle who passed now a few years ago, just feeling like I remember like sending him a message and just like thanking him for everything. And it just felt so final. And that was so hard to do, but I'm so glad that I did, because it opened up the chance for other conversations around those things that I wouldn't have got had I not taken that opportunity to do so. So it's important.
We got to say it out loud, man.
Yeah,
we got to say it with love too. You know, it's easy to get caught up in anger or regret or stuff like that, or we want to say like, oh, maybe you should have done this for me, or sometimes we have some stuff stored up, right? But unless we can put that away and just go, you know what, I love you, it will really serve a lot of male relationships. Whether they be family, platonic, it doesn't matter, right? If it's said with love, you go with love, right? And if that's the last thing you get, well, man, oh man, I wish I could be so lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love you, Greg.
I love you too, Ben.
I appreciate your support. And I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing. And just continuing these conversations. It's important. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.